Hey guys, it is MissSimReno. If you are returning to the channel, welcome back. And if you are brand new, I am very excited that you decided to join me here today for another speed build. And we're building a container home today. And I'm very excited about it because I made a red container. And that's literally why I'm excited, because the red metal swatch from Eco Lifestyle is not my favorite. Red is not a color that I really enjoy, but I loved bringing this together. So I was working off of an image on Pinterest, which I will put on screen for you right now just so you can see. And one of the things that I wanted to do is I wanted to change it up a little bit. I really just used it for a rough reference, just to maybe how to lay out things on the exterior. But you can see here, I am actually trying to make a greenhouse. That was kind of my thought. So instead of the little like car park or the carport or whatever it's called, whatever you want to call it, in the image itself on Pinterest, it does have a space where you can just kind of put your car and park it underneath the second story storage container. What a mouthful. And I wanted to make a greenhouse instead. I thought that would be kind of neat. I think this would be kind of a nice balance for a lot as well. I think that the wallpapers, like the metal siding and everything that I ended up using, would actually increase the industrial footprint. But on the other hand, there are tons of planters and there's like an outdoor garden area and stuff like that. So it might balance it out with adding to like the green eco footprint. I don't really know. I really haven't played with Eco Lifestyle in that regard very much because I don't know, it just didn't appeal to me that much. It wasn't really my play style, but I really love the idea. So if you download this home, you'll have to let me know kind of how that influences the world and how balanced this lot actually is. But you can see that here I was trying to use a similar color scheme to what was in the image. I wanted to use kind of this, I would call it like a manila wood tone, I guess. I'm not really sure. And I was trying to use like black and gray and things like that, but I ended up making it a lot more colorful on the exterior than I was anticipating. But I was trying to really just get the layout here, trying to get fancy with platforms, which I kind of did. At least here, I originally had an access point to the first floor here with that big glass sliding door and then the stairs to go up to the second story, but I do change that out a little bit just because the actual layout inside of this container really threw me for a loop. It was really difficult to kind of discern where certain rooms should go and where I could kind of make them fit without changing the exterior, because this exterior I was very particular about. But here you can see that we're changing the color scheme. So I've never done this before. I took out just a wall and I started to play around with different textures and wallpapers and whatnot to see what would match. And I was very close to making this like red, white, and blue, which I did not want to do. It wasn't what I was trying to do here, but I ended up making a red container on top, and then I believe I kept the container on the first story. I want to say I kept it white. Now I can't even remember. I only did this a couple days ago, but I can't remember if I actually kept it white or not. I think I did, but I played around with things a little bit more just to find a color scheme that felt very lively. I think that what typically happens when I do a darker color scheme on an exterior, especially for a home like this, I tend to carry it through to the interior, and I didn't want this to be a dark or... dark, pretty much that's the word. I didn't want it to be a dark interior either, so I decided to lighten it up a little bit. I used some softer wood tones. I had the white for like the frames of the doors and the windows, and having this red container allowed me to use this red swatch of the solar panels for the roof. I just really liked it. I'd never really played with this color scheme before, so I was really pleased. But you can see that the exterior is pretty much coming together at this point. I do a fair amount off camera as well, just to let you know. I think I sort out the roof over that little balcony area off to the right hand side, because I believe in the image it did have a roof over it, so you would at least be semi-protected from the elements, and I really liked that thought. And I liked what I did with the roof, so you guys will have to let me know when we get to that point. But of course, considering that I was trying to make this a little bit more eco-friendly, I did use a lot of plants throughout this build. I kind of pulled back a little bit from what I'm doing here, and I was trying to find different elements that I could tie together for the exterior without it being too overwhelming. So I did use the half wall tool here, and I put a little like fake plant. I mean, they're all fake plants technically, because these aren't the ones that your Sims have to water and they don't like increase their gardening skill from them. They're just decorative plants. But I did add, I think one of the ones from Eco Lifestyle. I was originally going to use these here, but they were a little bit too tall, so I used this one, which I never use because I kind of don't like the plants that are in it, but it worked perfectly for this little space underneath the stairs, which I was really happy about. And then I had to figure out what the heck I was going to do for the rest of this lot, because the container was not that big. So I was playing around with some low-lying fences to kind of define these walkways. I was trying to find a way to bring some more pops of green and some more plants into the exterior. But when I started to do this landscaping here, it felt way too overwhelming for this lot. I don't know why, that was just my feeling. You guys might disagree, but I felt as though it was way too overwhelming. I also felt that using the green flooring was a little bit too much, because at the time I was building in a neutral footprint. Like, this has a neutral footprint when you just load it up in the game. But when I was in live mode, I believe I had the green initiatives involved, or enacted, not involved, enacted. So it was a little bit different. I don't know. I try to build for the world, right? So I wanted this to be kind of eco-friendly, but I was hesitant to actually make it all green. I ended up doing it anyway, but here at this stage, I didn't do it. I'm not making any sense today. I have done a handful of voiceovers today already for a few different builds. I also tried to record something like in real time, and let me just tell you, my recording software really likes to change the default microphone just out of nowhere. So I have a headset, right? And it has a microphone on it, and then I have my kind of like big fancy boom mic thing. And I use the big fancy boom mic thing to do all my voiceovers because it's better quality than just like a headset. But my freaking software always defaults to the headset. And if I don't check it, because I don't always check it, it's my own fault, it will be defaulted to that. And I will go ahead and record something and it'll have been using like the wrong mic the entire time. I did an overview for my save file for the next world that I wanted to do a little overview on. I did the whole thing. It probably took like an hour. It's not that significant, but it was enough because I went to go edit the footage and realized that it had defaulted to the wrong microphone, and I was so livid that I shut my computer down and just walked away. And I decided that I wasn't going to record anything else today, and then my day got a little bit better. So I stopped being angry, and then I decided to do a voiceover for this one, and now I'm perfectly happy. But that is the kind of like overhang, like the roof area that I was kind of mentioning earlier. So I did use these pieces that I think you're meant to probably put on docks so you can see into the water. They're from Island Living, but I used them to make a clear glass roof without having to use a roof piece, which was kind of nice. And then I hung a bunch of plants. I put this nice big curved sectional out there with that faux fireplace coffee table thing from City Living. I thought that was a really cool hangout space. I really, really liked doing that. It felt very sophisticated and very intentional, like a very nice place that you would want to just like hang out outside and hang out with your friends and chat and listen to music. I think I even put a stereo out there at some point. But here we are taking some wood pieces from the debug menu to kind of outline this. I'm going to call it a garden bed. It's not really a garden bed. It's more so where I wanted there to be greenery, but I wanted there to be a defined separation from the path that I had leading up to the front of this property. And since you can't put a fence all the way to the edge of any lot in The Sims 4, which is one thing that drives me absolutely nuts, I decided to use those wood pieces because I could do that. I could place them right up to the edge. But I worked on it a little bit just to get an idea, and I ended up finishing the exterior a little bit off camera and at the end of the build. But here I am taking out the vertical planters and kind of mixing it with a few of the decorative ones. That way your Sims will have a few to plant on, but then a few that are just kind of decorative and look like they're in bloom, just so it's not as overwhelming, because there's a lot of them in there. But this is the little greenhouse. This is all it is. I ended up using these. Technically, it's a curtain from the Blooming Rooms kit. I thought it was super appropriate. And then I ended up working on the very first floor. So you can see that this is going to be the kitchen and the living space. I knew this was going to be the kitchen because I used platforms out front. I wanted to cover them on that window. And the only way I knew how to do that was to use countertops. So this is the kitchen and the living. It's a little bit odd. The layout's a little bit weird, but it is a container, so I kind of just went with it. And I think this is the first time that I have comfortably put cabinets physically on top of big windows like this because I was hesitant because I've had people comment before like, why would you do that? It's not realistic. I know it's not. I try. I try to do things as realistically as possible, but thankfully this is The Sims and I can go ahead and do something that might not be super realistic, have it still look kind of sort of nice, and just kind of go with it. So if it bothers you, you can absolutely get rid of it. You can do whatever you'd like. But I did put curtains on the exterior of those windows to kind of block those cabinets too, trying to hide it just a little tiny bit. But that is pretty much the kitchen. It's just one long string of what you need for a kitchen. So like your stove and your oven and your sink and your fridge and then just counter space. There is a dining table with at least 4 seats. And then there's a bookcase in the corner. We've got one of those cool fireplaces from Eco Lifestyle. And then we have a small little TV. So there's a few forms of entertainment down here, which I thought was very nice. I do kind of tone down the color scheme though. I was trying to. See what I did? I was bringing the color scheme from the exterior on into the interior by using the red swatch of these sectional couches from Dream Home Decorator, but I ended up toning it down to, I think, the green swatch. It just looked a little bit more natural, and I just liked it a lot more. It was less harsh. I think there was a lot of stark contrast in colors in here, and I just wanted to tone it down a smidge, just like a little tiny bit, not a lot, but just enough. And you could of course add or take away anything that you would like in here, but I just wanted to get some of the necessities and of course have a few forms of entertainment, so it wasn't an entirely useless space, I guess. But I really like how it came out. It's not my typical style. It felt really uncomfortable while I was doing it, but it came together, I think, kind of nicely because there were some rustic elements, some more contemporary modern elements, and I don't know, kind of the wood flooring that I ended up choosing, I think it's called, what is it called? I think it's like a subfloor. It's not supposed to be like a final polished wood flooring. I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was really nice. I also added a few different plants in here just to kind of make things a little bit more colorful and lively. Not that you needed it because there's a greenhouse quite literally through the archway, but I liked it either way. I also used this fan from the Industrial Loft kit. I thought of using a fan here because I used one on the exterior on that balcony to kind of allow your Sims to cool off on a hot day if they were outside hanging out. And then I thought to myself, when was the last time you put a fan on the interior of a build? Not recently. I haven't done it recently, so it felt really good to do it here. I do have a build coming. I don't know when, but I've also already shared a screenshot, I believe, at this stage, where I have a more industrial build, and I use that fan a lot. I cannot wait to show you. But now we're working on the second story. So this is only a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom home. It was just too small. I didn't want it to be too cramped. So this is ideal for maybe a single sim or a couple of Sims that live here. If you wanted to create an additional bedroom, you might find the space. Like if you ditched the greenhouse or something, you'd have plenty of space to add another bedroom. But this is mainly for like a single sim or a couple is what I was envisioning. I think that they either built this container home themselves or I don't know, I was going to say they inherited it from someone. This story isn't going anywhere. I think they built this themselves. And I think they're very into like green initiatives and stuff like that, but they also still enjoy a lot of like modern luxuries. That's what I was thinking. I also used these Dream Home Decorator cabinets to kind of create a little bit of a built-in piece to this bed. I was trying to make it look built in. I didn't go too nuts with it, but I really enjoyed how it looked, and it's not something that I would typically do. Also, you may notice, you may not have, but you may notice that I ended up shifting over to a dark mode during that last cut. That is because I have a particular mod. I cannot remember for the life of me. Oh, the plum fruit mod by Arnie. That's what it is. It's the plum fruit one. So you have like the plum phone and stuff like that. There's a dark mode for the UI menu. I love it so much. That's why it ended up shifting. You might see that in future builds, just letting you know, because I use that in my own off-camera gameplay very often. So that's why you're going to see it. But the bedroom is coming together. There's also a desk in here with a computer. So they have another source of entertainment, or they use it for work. It's really up to you, whatever your Sims do if you end up using this home. Also, I've never mentioned this before, but if you do use any of my homes, like send me screenshots on Twitter. My sweet friend Rachel says this all the time, and then it dawned on me. I was like, I never see people. Well, that's not true. I don't often get tagged seeing people using my build, so if you do not hesitate to tag me on Twitter or Instagram or something. I love Love, love, love to see it. It warms my heart and it shocks me every single time someone does it. Like literally in shock every single time, but anyway, there are tons of plants up here in the bedroom as well, and I love this desk area because it gets so much natural sunlight. It's such a nice place to like sit and do work when you have this big giant window that you can look out at. And of course, there is this big glass sliding door that leads out to that balcony area, and this is kind of like an entryway. I didn't want it to be super decorated, so I used this sectional here so you can like sit, take your shoes off and on or whatever. And I just added a few lights and maybe a plant or two. There really isn't anything extreme here. It's kind of a useless space, but I like it. And then I ended up using this metal fence to create the outside gardening areas. And I did use this, I'm going to call it an overhang, and I know that is not correct, but it's kind of like it almost looks like a carport. It's from Get Together, I believe. Or I used the ones from Eco Lifestyle. I cannot recall. There's like a glass one from Get Together, and then there's the fabricated one, I believe, from Eco Lifestyle. But I used that to give shelter and shade to some of the hydroponic, I believe that's what they're called. It's the hydroponic ones? I can't remember. But they are the fancy gardening plots that you can unlock at some point with Eco Lifestyle. I think from the career that came with this pack. I cannot recall specifics, but there's also going to be a recycling machine out here, a dumpster, just in case you need to toss a bunch of stuff out. And I think there's like a flower arranging station as well. There aren't as many activities as I was anticipating out in this area, mainly because I didn't want it to be over cluttered. There's also a few more solar panels and a couple of trees, which some I add off camera as well, and you won't see in the screenshots because they literally block the view of the container home itself, and that just was not going to work for me. But there's plenty of space outside and inside for your Sims to do their gardening and really, really enhance those skills. I also use this little overhang, this little pergola, I think is what it's called, from My Wedding Stories, just because it was a little bit different and brought a little bit more greenery and life to this build. But that is pretty much it. So I hope you all enjoyed this one. I cannot wait to hear your thoughts, and I will catch you next time I post a video, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Tell me, babe, where are you going? Prairie wind goes on blowing, tumbleweed.